Butch and Bob Show.
World famous Butch and Bob Show right here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup. Big Dog Catcher Radio. Bob, how's it going?
It's going well.
Had a good weekend?
Had a good weekend. Yep. Got to do Odom Day, saw the parade, got some goodies, came home, played golf, watched football all day. Had a great weekend. It was fun.
Perfect day for Bob.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. Good Saturday. I always enjoy the golf on Saturday. It's fun.
Okay. And your Pittsburgh Steelers play when?
Tonight, go Steelers. 6-2.
I know what you'll be doing tonight.
That's right. I'll be in front of that TV with my terrible towel and my TJ Watt jersey. Go Steelers. Fired up.
All right, we got a special guest in here. You got the Georgia-Florida game coming up this weekend in Jacksonville. Bob, who do we have?
We got Bulldog Bob Smith in. He's been to many of these games. I still got the 50th T-shirt on the computer, so I understand this is the 70th. Is that correct, Bob?
That's correct.
70 games. And
What, you didn't start when you were 5 years old?
Well, I had to correct one thing that you said. It's not 70 straight.
It's not 70 straight.
I played college football for NC State, and so I took a sabbatical for those 4 years to play on Saturday for NC State, where we won 3 ACC championships in a row.
And what position did you play for NC State?
I played middle guard, nose guard, they call it now. I was a long snapper, and the first year I also played pulling guard. So I basically played all the time.
Oh, okay. So you did there. So you've been 70 times, or this year there'll be 70 times, but not in a row. You skipped during that time period, okay?
I skipped 1962 through 65.
Okay.
I started when in 1950. I was 6 years old, and my daddy came in, and I was playing midget football in Waycross, Georgia. Back then, the midget program, when you played football, you played from the first grade through the 7th grade. And so I was playing, and I'd heard from the older boys about Georgia, Florida, and when my daddy asked me if I wanted to go, I said, sure, and he said, well, that will be your Christmas present. That's all we got back then was one present a year. We didn't get 28 like they do today. We just got one.
I lived that life too, Bob.
And so for the first 17 years, I guess, somewhere around there, that was my Christmas present. And I celebrate Christmas every year this time still. But that was my only Christmas present I got, and my daddy took me every year. And I've been to Jacksonville about every way you can go. Car, truck, bus, airplane, boat, train, and motorhome.
Wow.
Somebody said, "Well, how'd you go on a train?" Well, back then you had two companies, the Atlantic Coastline and Seaboard. They've now merged into CSX, but it was two different companies. And you had a passenger train that ran from Waycross to Jacksonville. Actually, I don't know where it originated. Probably Atlanta. I've been by train from Waycross to Atlanta before, but we got on the train a couple of years and went straight. They had about four trains a day. Passenger trains went from Waycross to Jacksonville, so we had no problem. So I've been every way you can go.
So what was that first year you went? Do you remember the year?
1950.
1950. Man.
Did you have good seats?
Oh, yeah. We always had good seats.
There you go.
like I said, it was a big thing back then, for me anyway. And it was one thing that I always did with my daddy. He owned his own business, and he didn't get to see me play much. I think he saw me play 3 or 4 college games is all in my career, and he had to work, and so this was special. And as I look back, it was a very special time for me, because it was with him, and it was something I look forward to every year.
So you missed those few years while you were in college. Did you start back in '66?
Oh, yes.
After you were in college playing.
Yes.
And have you gone every year since then?
Every year since
'66. Okay.
Yeah.
Back in the 50s, did they divide the stadium in quarters? I know they divide it in half now, but I'm just curious. Back in the 50s, was the stadium divided?
Yeah, it was about like it is now.
Well, back in the days, they had it in 4 sections, but
Right.
there were so many fights, they decided to just divide it. Now it's half, so they try to avoid as much
I think
confrontation.
it's better half because you'd rather sit close to folks that are your team you're pulling for.
It is. Well, you're a big tailgater at these events. You have your tradition. You know, you have to have the deviled eggs.
Yeah.
You got to have the pimento cheese, right?
We
What else do you have to have? Because I know you're traditionalist.
We began tailgating. Actually, I began tailgating about 1966, and we had our own place in a parking lot. All I can tell you, it was under the Jack Daniels sign across from the stadium.
Yeah, that's where everybody used to pick.
Everybody
for years.
parked there for years,
Yeah.
and we.
But they don't. That's not a parking lot anymore, is it?
No,
Yeah, they changed that.
It's all, and there wasn't even a hotel or motel there when we started, and then they built a motel there, not on the parking lot, but next to it. After that, W.C. Rogers and I started renting a parking lot. We had to pay a year in advance for a parking lot, and we parked about 40 cars in there from people from Jesup, several from Waycross, and 2 couples every year that came down from Athens. And we all tailgated together there for years and years, actually until WC passed, and a couple of years after that. When Bob talked about my 50th, that was a big deal then. I never thought I'd reach 70, but 50 years, I didn't even realize that they had T-shirts, they had banners, they had a little of everything.
I still got my 50th T-shirt. I was wondering, are we getting a 70th T-shirt? Or you
weren't aware of that. Your friends put all that.
You going to update this?
Your friends put all this together on your 50th, right? It was a surprise
right.
to you with the T-shirts and all that. You weren't saying you gone. Everybody else was happy for you and proud of you gone for 50 years to the Georgia-Florida game.
The only thing I knew was that I had to fix a lot more. I always fix the deviled eggs, and I always had to fix a lot more deviled eggs. I knew we were going to have a crowd. I did not know that we would have the crowd we have. But by the way, WTOC was there at that parking lot the whole time, interviewing everybody, and it was a good day. But we fed 250 people. I'll never forget. I looked up and all of a sudden, just before we started eating, David Earl, I thought he brought the whole State Farm Company there because all I saw was State Farm shirts of people from all over Georgia, State Farm agents from all over Georgia that came and ate with us that day. Met a lot of people, but that was quite a day.
I know you've had a lot of memories through the years. Is there any particular game or games that kind of really stand out in your mind that you think about ever so often?
Let me ask you a question, Butch. Sure. How much time I got?
I said game or two. I didn't say. You've got 15 more minutes, Bob. Go, take it away.
You got plenty of time.
You got 15 more minutes, Bob. Take it away.
But I've got to talk about tickets because for years and years we got regular. I call them regular tickets. It's all on your phone and all this electronic stuff and Ticketmaster and all this StubHub but back then you just got tickets and we went to. I have a place in Fernandina. They call it now Amelia Island, but it's Fernandina Beach, and we've always had a place down there, a family place. And anyway, people always wanted tickets and wanted me to get them tickets because we'd go down there early. And I made a sign up, a cardboard sign. I still got it. Put it underneath the house every year after I get through. It said, "Need 2 tickets." I've gotten as many as 38 tickets off that ticket sign for people in Jesup. But I have to tell the story because you can't make this up. One day, one year, tickets weren't available. They just Georgia and Florida. I don't know if they were both undefeated or one had one loss, but anyway, it's hard to get tickets for everybody that wanted them. It's hard to get any of them. Friday morning, I got up and, as a tradition, I fixed me a Bloody Mary, and Joe Mack, Pipkin, and Mark Surdich and Mike Purvis were in the room, in the big room, and of course they were drinking coffee. Well, they paid me to say that. But they were drinking coffee, and I had my Bloody Mary, and I was going to sit down at the dining room table, which is part of the big room, and before I could get there, which was 2 steps from where I was, the phone rang, and it was Felix Haynes, the pastor at First Baptist Church. I called him the Pope. I went to school all the way through grammar and high school with him, but he said, "I need 3 tickets." And I said, "Felix, that ain't 3 tickets available this side of heaven." And he said, "Well, then go see St. Peter and get me 3 tickets." Okay. Crazy. Anyway, so I decided I'd have me a sip of my Bloody Mary. Before I could get a sip, the phone rang. And it was Bill Miller, longtime Rainier, head of the Forestry Department at Rainier. And Bill said, Bob said, he tailgated with us in our parking lot, he and his wife Carolyn. And he said, Bob, he says, one of my children is not going to be able to go, and I've got 3 extra tickets. But they're next to Carolyn and I, if you know anybody that, will behave next to us. And I said, well, as a matter of fact, I've got somebody that asked if I could get him 3 tickets. I don't know if he'll behave or not. But I said, I said, but you know him. I said, it's Felix Haynes. That was Bill Miller's pastor. He went to First Baptist Church. Bill did. And he said, "Oh." And I said, "Just give them to him, and I'll pay for them." "No, you're not going to pay for these." Anyway, I called Felix back, and I said, "Felix," I says, "I called St. Peter." And St. Peter said, "I've got 3 tickets for you. And I'll get them to you." And Felix said, "Do you want me to come to Fernandina to get them?" He'd stayed in my cottage before. And I said, "No." I says, "Felix, I got these from St. Peter. Don't you know? The angels will bring them to you." Where are you?" He says, "I'm at the office at the First Baptist Church." I said, "Well, the angels will be there in less than 5 minutes to give you your tickets." And he called me back. And I had not, according to Felix, not hung up the phone 30 seconds that Bill Miller walked in his office with those 3 Georgia-Florida tickets.
That's interesting.
You can't.
That is amazing.
You can't make that up. And I finally got to drink my Bloody Mary, which is a tradition for me.
It's amazing how we get in traditions like that with certain events that we go to. Bulldog Bob Smith, our special guest this morning on the world famous Butch and Bob Show.
I guess some of the most memorable times that I had, I can go over.
Okay.
I can go over some, and again, it's.
How special was the
it's
How special was the 1980 game though with Lindsey Scott from Jesup? I mean, that's still to me the greatest play ever in Georgia football history. What was on the line, and
I was just getting to that. I was sitting. My seats that year were on the aisle, and just across the aisle just across the aisleway on the same row was Jimmy and Vonnis Sullivan. And you have to know Vonnis. Vonnis was the patriarch of Wayne County, Georgia. She always had on her dress. She was always prim and proper. A lot of people were scared of her. She was at Sullivan. She was all business and this, that, and the other. But I knew her from church, and in any event, when Lindsey ran the touchdown, he ran it on our side, right down. We were on that side of the field, and when he scored, I don't know where she came from. This was the most unlikely thing that you had ever heard of or seen out of this elderly lady. But she came and she jumped on me and hugged me and hugged me and hugged me and wouldn't let go. I didn't know what to do. I was bumfuzzled, but that's how excited everybody was. And it was the most unlikely thing from Bonnie Sullivan that you would never expect that out of her. But I was honored. But there's been some other times. I mean, I had a good friend that I went to grammar school and high school with that was a big Florida Gator fan, and he lived in Daytona most of his life, and he'd moved up to Fernandina. And one year we were supposed to win, and we lost, and I came back to our beach house, and it was decorated more so than any Christmas decorations at George Moody's. He starts every year, 2 months, putting all his stuff on in his yard. Well, that's the way my house was. it was orange and blue from one end to the other. So you had to take the good with the bad. Because I got mad at that.
You got mad.
Yeah, I don't like to lose,
Yeah, we don't.
But it was all in fun.
Well, these tailgate parties are legendary. Like I said, my niece and my nephew, they still talk about it when I see them. They want to know if I'm going to be down there tailgating. I said, yeah, I'll be at the traditional tailgate party. So, again, they still talk about meeting you and all your friends, and it's left a lasting impression on them.
Well, there was a camaraderie there, and that, everybody talked about the world's greatest cocktail party, but it was the friendship and the camaraderie that we had. We had certain people that like Bill Miller and Carolyn, his wife, and their children, Bill Jr. And after he got married, and I could sit here and name people after people that you all know, and they came every year. And then we'd always have some new ones that came, and they were part of the family. Just like Bob said, when he brought his people with him, his sisters.
My niece and nephew both come.
Yeah.
I said my nephew will be there again this year. He attends Florida. It's his senior year.
They were part of the family. They became part of the family immediately when they got there. And we would feed also. We would feed people that didn't park there, that had come to Georgia, Florida for the first time, and they didn't know about tailgating, and they didn't have food and this, that, and the other. They hadn't brought it with them, and they were welcome. And
I'm sure some of these people, this is really the only time of the year that you see them or hang out with them is at this event every single Georgia, Florida game, right?
That's right. Now, there's some that they're always there, and for the last, I don't know how many years, we go down Wednesday. Sometimes I go Tuesday or Monday.
When are you going this year? When are you headed down there?
Wednesday. Yeah,
So
you get old, you can't keep up like that.
So you go to a place in Fernandina?
Anymore.
You go to Fernandina first? Is that where you go?
Yeah,
Right.
I redid it was a cottage now. I redid it. Now it's a house on the beach. My granddaddy built in 1929.
Wow.
And I've still got his deed. It says it's bounded on the east by the low water mark of the Atlantic Ocean. And it's 4 bedrooms, and so that we have Peggy and I and 3 other couples have gone down for the past 20 years, I guess. Those 4 couples have changed. Mike and Brenda have gone most of those years. I think they missed one. And Mark Surdich and Donna and Joe Mack and Susie. And we've had others that went for several years and then for one reason or another quit going to the Georgia, Florida game. Some of them, well, for various reasons, they just they quit going. Lost interest. I don't know how, if you like football, you could lose interest in the Georgia, Florida game, but that's because, again, because we had done it for years, and we know about how to do it. When we tailgate down there now, it's not as big. We always have new people come. One year, several years ago, Brenda brought broccoli salad who ever heard of broccoli salad at a tailgate? Well, it just so happened that one of our first time guests was Dr. Gary Stern, and he and his wife are vegetarians. Oh, and that was the greatest thing. They couldn't eat chicken. They couldn't eat pimento cheese sandwiches. They couldn't eat devil, but they could eat broccoli salad.
There you go.
The Lord looked after us that day. We had something for them.
So, from what you said, y'all had maybe several different sites that y'all have gathered at since the 1950s. I mean, so you have a spot that y'all been going to the same for the last several years where you all gather for the Georgia-Florida game?
We now park. We were parking for the last 10, 15 years. We parked in the same place next to the stadium in Lot N, as in no. But them Jacksonville Jaguars and what have you built a practice field over our parking lot. And so N is no longer there. And that's where we parked after we left renting the parking lots. We would feed 40 or 50 every week, every year there. We'd have put up tents and tables and chairs and everything, and it was right. I mean, I didn't have to walk 50 yards to the main gate of the stadium. So, but that's no longer there. Although this year I got somebody. Last year I had to take a rickshaw from my parking lot. It was about 2 miles and it was given the parking pass I got with my tickets, season tickets, but it was about 2 miles of walking, and I took one of these rickshaws. Boys on a bike with a thing on the back. There was 6 of us on that rickshaw.
Wow.
But this year, I said I was just going to bite the bullet and pay $500 and get me another ticket up there next to the stadium. And I had a call from somebody, and they said, I got you a ticket in the presidential parking lot, if you will. I said, how much I owe you? He said, nothing. That's for your 70th. So we'll be in Lot D this year, which all I got to do is, I don't have to walk very far. I'm getting too old to walk.
That's just right across the road there. Lot D
right
is,
there.
yeah.
Yep. Lot D's a good place.
This is right next to the stadium.
All right.
Yeah.
But we've had some good times down there. I don't know. I've put my family on notice about my season tickets. I've had tickets in Athens since I got out of law school. Season tickets. I have 10 together, and I can. We use them. We use them, or if they're not being used by our family, we give them away. I've never sold a ticket. I give them away.
Mm.
The Lord's blessed me, and if I can, I've shared them with Nick Ellis. Took two high school boys with him to their game a couple of years ago, and I was honored to give them tickets, and I had extra tickets that day, and you know, I'm glad to do it. I put my family on notice. I'm getting too old. All this going up down them steps, and it's I don't know this Georgia, Florida. I'm glad I made 70. I don't know. Well, I'll probably go to 75. I said that 10 years ago.
It's hard to give it up, isn't it, Bob?
As long as I can walk. And then again, some of them go in wheelchairs, so I don't know that I might still go. It's a fun time.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate you coming in and reminiscing about the 70 years. Again, we'll look forward to it this year. Again, Lot D. So if you're down in Jacksonville, stop by Lot D. I'm sure they have the tent that still says Jesup dogs.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Oh,
easy
yeah.
easy to pick out. So Wayne County
I've
dog.
already packed a pickup truck with a tent, tables and chairs and everything, and
so you're ready to roll.
ready to roll.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you, Bob, for coming in. I know we could probably spend at least 2 hours here going over your experiences for 70 years at the Georgia-Florida game, and that is quite an experience you've had during your life to be able to do something like this, have the traditions with it, be with family and friends down there. It just makes the game even more special.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good day. All right, the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup has been brought to you by the Service Department at GNS Auto Sales, also by First Southern Bank, Murphy Builder Supply, and O.C. Welch Ford.